What's up, YouTubers? Hardworker12 with you here. Now, I've been in the car business for about 14 years, and in that time I've probably laid hands on thousands of used cars. Trade appraisals, certified pre-owns, regular old used cars. I've even bought a handful myself. So what I thought I'd do today is give you some tips and tricks on what to look for if you're thinking about buying a used car, but you don't know a whole lot about cars. Now, the first thing I want you to do is a little bit of a psychological trick. We call it a silent walk around in the car business. This is what it looks like. Now, you want to do this in front of the person that's trying to sell you the car, and what you're doing is just walking around the car, not really saying too much unless there's some major body damage or something like that, but just touch every little scratch, dent, imperfection you see. Everyone that's trying to sell you a car is thinking, hey, I hope they don't notice that thing, and by doing this, you let them know, I know about it. Now, I want you to pay extra special close attention to the tires while you're doing this. In my experience, tires can really be the number one thing that tells you if you're looking at a good car or not. Now, there's a whole lot of other stuff to look for, but if you're looking at a car with 4 matching tires, good brand, good tread on them, you know this person took the time and spent the money to maintain the car properly. If you're looking at a used car at a franchise dealer these days, it may be shod with 4 brand new cheap Chinese tires. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. Actually, I own a used car that I bought from a dealer that had such a feature on it, and they've been fine. So if you've got brand new cheap tires, that's okay. But if you've got 4 Michelins on them with good tread, that's a really good sign. If you're looking at 4 mismatched tires, different amounts of tread, you know the car has been maintained on a budget, and that's a bad sign. Now, of course, you're looking for major body damage, signs of paint work like overspray or drips in the paint, also mismatched panel gaps. If you're looking at, say, the hood, and the gap between the hood and the fender is much wider on one side than it is on the other, that's a bad sign. If you want to measure that, take a pen and a piece of paper, mark down what the gap is on one side, move over to the other side and see if they match up. If you have mismatched panels, it could be a sign of accident damage and a poor repair on the vehicle. Now, I want to say one thing. None of these things make it so that you shouldn't buy the car. Of course, if you have a whole bunch of them, it may add up to, yeah, walk away, but they're just things that need to be factored in as far as pricing on the vehicle and the value of the vehicle when it comes to a used car. Now, the next thing I want you to do is pop the hood and look under the hood. Normally on US market cars, the hood release is going to be low and to the left of the steering wheel. If you can't figure out how to pop the hood, ask the person that's selling you the car, have them do it for you. Once you're under here, the first thing I want you to do is feel if the engine's warm or not. Why are we doing this? Well, it's especially important with older cars because here's how my 1985 Saab 900 starts when it's dead cold. And here's how it starts once it's been warmed up. You want to know the difference. Now, you want to obviously check the oil, the coolant, the brake fluid, all the fluids you can check. As far as the oil goes, here's what some engine oil looks like on an engine with 37,000 miles that hasn't had an oil change in 7,000 miles. You can see it's kind of brown, but it's not black. Now, here's what the oil looks like on a car with 340,000 miles that just had an oil change about 200 miles ago. It's much cleaner. If you're looking at a car with black oil, that is a very bad sign. It means that the oil hasn't been changed in a long time, or this particular motor has just been run dirty with very long intervals between oil changes pretty much its whole life. So that may be a sign that you want to walk away because you could be up against some major engine damage in the future. Another thing you should look at under the hood is something that we call the truth screws sometimes in the car business, even though technically they're bolts. You want to look at the screws, the bolts, the nuts under the hood. You can also do this under the trunk lid. Some of these are going to be painted from the factory, but if you see tool marks on these particular items, that means that they've been taken off of the car. If the car has never been touched as far as accident damage, you're not going to be seeing tool marks on those particular nuts and bolts under the hood. So that tells you that that particular part of the car has been taken apart, and it could be a sign of accident damage. As far as things to look at on the inside of the vehicle, I don't have quite as much to say. Obviously, check all of the power windows, mirrors, locks. If the vehicle does have factory navigation, check to make sure that the SD card or the discs are present and the maps actually show up, because those can be expensive items to replace. If the car smells like cigarette smoke, that's something that's really hard to get out of a car. If it smells like weed smoke, don't worry about that. That pretty much goes away on its own once you stop smoking weed in the car. I'm not kidding about those things, it's true. Another thing you might want to do is start the engine and turn the wheels all the way to one side. This way you can get an even closer look at the condition of the tires, at least in the front. And you want to pay attention to the wear bars, which are these little bars they put in between the treads that show you how much of the tire tread is left. And also make sure that the tire wear is even from the outside to the inside of the tire. If you have uneven tire wear, that's a sign that your alignment is out of whack or potentially some other issue is present with the vehicle. Something else you might want to check on a newer car, some of them somewhere in the trip computer will have a lifetime average fuel economy. You can see my car here reading 20.6 miles per gallon for the lifetime of the vehicle. Now the reason you'd check that is if somebody tells you, oh yeah, it's pure highway mileage, but it's rated 20.6 miles per gallon when the highway MPG is 23, well, there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. But if that said 15, and I told you it was pure highway, then you would know that I was probably purely full of it. When you test drive the car, especially if it's an automatic transmission, pay close attention to how the transmission is shifting. If it kind of clunks or shifts really hard and you can feel it a lot, that's a bad sign for the transmission. One thing you'll want to do with a front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive car is get it to a place where you can do some U-turns and turn the car around as tight as it'll go in both directions, and listen for a kind of like a ratcheting sound. That might mean that the car needs new ball joints or U-joints. Another tip, if you can take it out on the highway, get it up to about 65 miles an hour. Make sure nobody's behind you. Have a loose grip on the steering wheel and hit the brakes and see if you feel the steering wheel shaking. If that's the case, then you may have some warped brake rotors. Now I want to make something clear. If you find some of these issues that I'm alluding to here, as far as it looks like the car's had body work done on it, the front brake rotors might be warped, things like this, there's some dents, there's some scratches, don't necessarily let any of this stop you from buying whatever car that you're looking at. The key is that you know that these issues exist on this particular vehicle and that these issues are reflected in the price on this particular car. And you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. My 1985 Saab had paintwork done to it. I knew that. Started hard when it was cold. I knew that before I bought it. But the price on the car was right. The rest of the car made sense. It came with very comprehensive maintenance records and very nice new tires on it as well when I bought it. And the car has been a phenomenal car for me, and it was a good price, and I wanted that particular car because it's kind of a rare model, rare body style. So, like I said, don't necessarily let any of these things stop you from making a car deal. Just make sure that you're making the right deal and the price reflects whatever issues you found in the car. And a lot of this is on you to do your research. Now, if you're looking for a car that's relatively common, if you're in the market for a 2015 Toyota Camry or something where there's millions of them out there, and you find one with a bunch of issues, well, maybe you should walk away and try to find one that's cleaner, pay a little bit more money, and not have to deal with headaches down the road. But used cars are all unique. You find value in unexpected places sometimes, but these are just the things that you should be looking for if you're looking at buying a used car. So those are my tips and tricks on what to look for if you're inspecting a used car. Hope you found my video helpful. Good luck in whatever car you end up buying. Please like and subscribe and have a wonderful day.